attention turned to the new first-person shooter built on an enhanced GoldenEye engine. The Stampers have rejected the idea of another Bond game, preferring to go with an original IP owned by Rare. Hollis and Doak left them with a rough framework to build on, inspired in equal parts by the works of Philip K. Dick and Ghost in the Shell. Female corporate spy Joanna Dark operated against the backdrop of an alien war. Originally, light and darkness played a big role in the gunplay, but those features were scaled back to muzzle flashes and night vision goggles. Nevertheless, Perfect Dark premiered after numerous delays on May 22, 2000, to near universal critical acclaim and recognition during the awards season. Sales, however, were a quarter of what GoldenEye raked in. Another employee exodus followed. Something had to change. Already another cute, furry animal platformer game was in the pipeline, and there was absolutely nothing to distinguish Conker's Quest from any other cute, furry animal platformer in the world, up to and including Rare's own Banjo series. Then, project lead Chris Seaver had an idea. A terrible, horrible, absolutely no good idea. In the best possible way, of course. Inspired by South Park, Conker's Quest became a filthy, foul-mouthed, poo-flinging cauldron of spite, unlike any other commercially released game ever made. Seaver was so proud, he voiced the drunken title character himself. When Rare announced the change of direction, most people assumed it was a prank. On March 4th, 2001, they found out different. Conker's Bad Fur Day corrected many of the backtracking mistakes that plagued Donkey Kong 64 and threw in the best potty humour, sometimes literally, ever seen in a video game. Conker's Depraved Quest also benefited from Rare's years of experience on the N64. It boasted graphics and small but telling technical achievements that topped even Perfect Dark's from a year before. The hilariously profane dialogue pushed the limits of both the storage media and good taste, and critics ate it up. Conker didn't do so well. Nintendo practically disowned the game, never listing it or mentioning it on any of their official publications. Moreover, Conker was proudly far, far outside the mainstream, and came in right at the end of the N64's life cycle. Despite all these factors and the initial concerns that led to Conker's glorious transformation, another roving 3D action platformer starring cute anthropomorphic critters moved through development at Rare for the N64. Running on an engine similar to the one that powered The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, Saber and Crystal were the playable leads in Dinosaur Planet, and players could switch between the two by use of the Swap Stone. Production was already pretty far along when a content review passed much of the finished material across Shigeru Miyamoto's desk. He instantly noticed unintended similarities between Saber's design and that of his own Fox McCloud. Further examination revealed that with just a few adjustments, it would nicely plug a glaring franchise gap in the release schedule for Nintendo's new 6th generation console. A few modifications later, Dinosaur Planet became Star Fox Adventures for the Nintendo GameCube. Critics enjoyed the Zelda-like gameplay, but some felt the wholesale departure from Star Fox's traditional flight combat genre too jarring. The lowest scores came out of Nintendo-centric outlets who felt betrayed, not for the genre flip, but because Fox McCloud's ground-based adventures became Rare's final game on a Nintendo console. As early as 2000, Microsoft began making overtures to have the Stampers come make games for their still under-wraps console. In September 2002, the same month Star Fox Adventures hit stores, they made it official. The Stampers and Nintendo both sold their stakes for a combined $377 million. All the various franchise rights were untangled amicably, and Rare, once again the official company name, became a first-party developer for the Xbox. The deal didn't immediately pan out for everybody. Donkey Kong Racing, an unfinished semi-sequel to Diddy's earlier racer, fell into oblivion. The only two games Rare delivered for Microsoft's big black box were grabbed by the Ghoulies, which turned out to be the biggest flop in Rare's history, and Conquer Live Reloaded, a remastered, more heavily censored port that fared even worse than the original. Meanwhile, Rare still delivered Banjo and Saberwolf games for the Game Boy Advance. When dev kits became available for the Nintendo DS, the Stampers picked up a few, despite being a wholly owned subsidiary of Microsoft. The bulk of Rare's development schedule turned to Nintendo's mobile platforms. Microsoft let it slide. They weren't a competitor in the mobile space, and they made money from the games just the same. They even handed over It's Mr. Pants, a name they trademarked 3 years previous, so Rare could turn it into a GBA puzzler. But when 2005 rolled around, Microsoft put Rare at the forefront of their launch title lineup for Xbox 360. The Stampers were suddenly back on console duty, and time wasn't on their side. Rather than start from scratch, the Rare teams advanced 2 backburnered projects, both of which started life as GameCube titles. The first was actually set to be a flagship game for Nintendo's console, then was shelved midway through the redesign for Xbox 1.0. Cameo, Elements of Power, takes a comely young elf, gives her shape-shifting powers, and sets her loose to pummel and puzzle her way through a richly designed world. Perfect Dark Zero, chronicling the early firefights of bounty hunter Joanna Dark, made an appearance at Nintendo's Space World 2000 event, but largely vanished off the radar afterwards. It was about 12 months away from completion for the original Xbox when word came down to bump it up to the 360. Its multiplayer became the test platform for Xbox Live, and the design team jumped on board a new achievement system, setting precepts for shooters' achievements that are still copied almost vertebrae in every Xbox shooter 3 years later. The head start Rare had on design and production paid off. Both games were regarded as among the better launch titles for the Xbox 360, and both became million sellers. A third game, once set for the Pocket PC platform, made its way to the 360 the following year. Originally an idea of Tim Stamper's called Your Garden, a total of 50 people, mainly from the Banjo-Kazooie team, led by Greg the Grim Reaper Males, spent 4 years moulding it into Viva Pinata, easily the gentlest game Rare produced in years. Players raise, breed and provide for candy-named pinata animals. Not that Rare didn't include a slight undercurrent. Players had to respect the donut of life, as some pinatas naturally treated others as prey items. Excitement around Viva was high. Licensing deals led to a CGI cartoon series and installations at Six Flags Mexico. Microsoft positioned Viva as the launch title for Xbox's South American debut back in the States. It was regarded as the best game Rare had made since the Microsoft buyout, and signalled a return to greatness. It garnered as many interactive achievement awards as GoldenEye had, and found its way onto several finalist lists for Game of the Year, although didn't win any. Sales were not impressive. Without popular support, Viva Pinata only took home a trophy for female vocals, and it ranked dead last in popularity polls. Not because it wasn't an excellent game, but just because so few people had played it. In an interview at the San Diego Comic-Con, Rare spokesman James Thomas hinted at sour feelings inside Rare when he criticised Microsoft putting all its holiday marketing muscle behind Gears of War at Viva Pinata's expense. It was an unusually candid disclosure for a notoriously tight-lipped company.